Tonight we honor two men, two very, very special men who, despite differences of party, share a commitment to the partnership between the United States and Israel, a passion for true peace and freedom, and a keen awareness and understanding of what it takes to build a peace that is both secure and lasting. These men are truly scholar-statesmen. For more than a generation, Elliott Abrams has been a fighter in the Washington clash of ideas, a champion of freedom and liberty throughout the world. In the Middle East, he transformed our conception of what peace should require, replacing the tired old pattern of making deals with dictators to the idea that only a Palestinian partner that is fair and just at home will be fair and just with Israel. Throughout, he was and remains a happy warrior. He has been a tenacious and fierce advocate in his search for peace, and he has never, never flagged in his genuine optimism that America is the force for right and good. We begin with this short film tribute to the Honorable Elliott Abrams.
Visionary and strategist, the Honorable Elliott Abrams has dedicated his 30-year career in Washington to the advancement of human rights, religious freedom, and U.S. strategic interests around the globe. He joined the State Department during President Reagan's first term, and as the Cold War escalated, he helped the United States to address Soviet proxies, civil unrest, and violent coups in the Caribbean, Latin America, and around the world. In the 1990s, he turned his discerning knowledge of history and policy to the fundamental debates facing Washington after the breakup of the Soviet Union and the rise of new challenges in the Middle East. As a senior NSC official under President George W. Bush, Elliott Abrams helped chart and implement U.S. policy toward Israelis and Palestinians during the lowest ebb of the Oslo era, the Second Intifada. With our nation's focus on counterterrorism, Iraq, and Afghanistan, he shepherded U.S. efforts through several important milestones. Beyond the negotiating table, he pursued innovative and pragmatic policies to improve self-governance and security in the West Bank, steps that would, from the bottom up, advance the prospects for real and lasting peace. Author and blogger, frequent media commentator, and political advisor, he continues to advance an active and principled American role in world affairs, one that has, at its core, the still unfinished fight for freedom. Tonight, we recognize his penetrating intellect and his dedication to the founding ideals of our nation. We honor his ceaseless efforts to enshrine the expansion of peace, freedom, and human rights in the center of our foreign policy, particularly in the Middle East, where violence and oppression have too long been a substitute for an elusive stability.
To the Honorable Elliott Abrams, champion of freedom, scholar, and statesmanship, we hereby award you.
I've been given 90 seconds to summarize Dennis's career. But first I'd like to congratulate Richard and Lorraine and Elliott on their various awards and for the great contributions they've made to this organization and to our society. Actually, I was recently on a trip with Dennis, who took a small group of us to Israel for what was supposed to be a very exciting trip. And when we saw the missile land outside the King David Hotel, we knew we were in for something special. But what I'd really like to focus on is this. Obviously, that was a very difficult time for Israel, and yet every single senior politician, from Bibi to Ehud Barak, Ehud Olmert, members of the cabinet, senior members of the military and security, all met with us, ducking in and out of meetings as they were making decisions about this very critical issue. And what was quite clear in attending those meetings was not only the respect for the Washington Institute, but perhaps more importantly, the high esteem that they hold Dennis Ross in. I think that because not only did they want to explain their thinking at that time, but more importantly, they wanted to get Dennis's opinion, and they listened quite intently. So to Dennis, who has been the quintessential diplomat of the past 30 years in addressing the peace process in the Middle East, who as a statesman has worked tirelessly to bring peace to Israel. But watch the video about Dennis, and then I'll get to give him his medal.
A skilled diplomat and seasoned negotiator, Ambassador Dennis Ross has played a leading role in shaping American foreign policy for a generation. He has traversed party lines as an advisor to 4 presidents and 5 administrations, from the Carter-era Pentagon to President Reagan's National Security Council and beyond. In 1985, he authored the first policy paper for an upstart organization dedicated to advancing America's interests in the Middle East. Through the years, the Washington Institute became his intellectual home between the nation's calls to public service. As President Clinton's special envoy to the Middle East, he matched an acute awareness of reality with a negotiator's flexible and creative thinking. Building trust among wary personalities and bridging divides between nations, his indelible but often invisible imprint marked the Middle East's signature peace agreements and near agreements for over a decade. Under President Obama, he returned to the National Security Council, this time to confront the impending threat of a nuclear Iran. And when the region was engulfed by protests in 2011, he helped America understand the sensitive changes underway and navigate through the turbulence of the new Middle East. Every bit the scholar and the statesman, Dennis Ross is the author of the definitive inside story on the peace process. His writings, public engagements, and frequent appearances in the media have raised the level of public debate on Middle East policy in Washington and across the country. Among the distinguished world leaders who have received this award, the Washington Institute is proud to honor one of its own.
Ambassador Dennis Ross, I'd like to present this for your relentless efforts on behalf of peace in the Middle East.